Christine from Create a Smile. It has been a long time since I made a video, but I thought I'll be back with this one. We will have a new release next week, so we start our countdown on Monday, showing these two new sets. This is a background set, and this is a cute stamp set with some critters that can hold banners, and there are words that fit into the banners and some extra sentiments as well. We will have new chipboards as well, with some engraved designs. You can see these little envelopes go really well with the background stamp. So I'm using the new stamps today, and I hope you'll enjoy what you see. I have to say that the card turned not out like I expected it to be, but I'm fine with that. That's what watercolor does. I'm working with watercolors, and I have to say that the Schminke watercolors, it's a German company, and they are super high quality with lots of pigments, but they do not react with the water like I want them to. So this is what happened. As you can see, I prepped my cardstock, which is a watercolor cardstock, with my IKEA Success powder tool, and then I use my Versamark ink to emboss that background that is called letters. I'm using Wow Clear Gloss Superfine embossing powder, which is by far my favorite clear embossing powder because you get all the details with that superfine stuff, and it has a nice shine and it melts to an even surface. So, well, it's not even with the paper, but I think it's nice and regular, and I love the look that you get with that embossing powder. So we have all the envelopes on the background now, and now comes the fun watercolor part. I have this piece of wood just for my watercoloring. That's why it looks a little messy. It's just to prevent warping. So I tape down my background pretty well with some washi tape. You can use any tape that you want that will not rip your paper. But if you have some washi tape and you are afraid that you rip your paper, for example with color copy paper, which is super let's say sensitive for everything, you can warm up your washi tape with your heat gun, and then it's no problem to peel it off. So I use a lot of water on that background, and then I use the watercolors, and you can see they look amazing, super high pigmented, very bright and shiny colors. And I heard Jennifer McGuire say that it makes a big difference if you let your color dry by air, so just air dry it, or if you use a heat gun. So I took a lot of patience, and I'm usually not a patient person, but I thought I'd give it a try this time because I used these colors a few times, and I was never happy with the result, because I love if watercolor gets into those embossed edges and has some kind of a dark edge. So this was what I wanted, but I don't get this look with the Schminke watercolor, so I thought, let it air dry, maybe this works. In fact, all the patience was for nothing. I don't have the edges that I wanted, but the color turned out pretty. So then I'm using the new Friends and Couples set, and I'm using the little duck on the bottom. Well, this could also be a chick or whatever you look, whatever it looks like to you, sorry. It is a duck for me, so I used that little duck, and then I did some yellow coloring on that with my Copics, so I used Memento ink. Maybe you can give me a hint. I got an email yesterday saying that the My Favorite Things hybrid ink in black or the Lawn Fawn ink in black do work pretty well with Copics, but do they stain your stamps? Because I'm not a big fan of black stain on my stamps. This is what I want to show you. I got some new tips for my classic Copic markers. So the square ones, they usually come with a chisel end and with a fine tip, and I want to have a brush tip, and I bought some extra brush tips. They are available for the classic Copics, and I love them. They're not as long as the brush nips on your sketch markers or on your chow markers, but they do work pretty well. And another tip, if you went outside the lines, I do that oftentimes, and then you use your colorless blender to push back the color. This is what everyone does, but I found out that sometimes the color tends to soak into that very wet area again, so I make sure to push the color back and pretty quickly take my heat gun and dry that, so the color has no chance to seep into that wet area again, if that does make sense. So then I just fussy cut that with my scissors. These are from IKEA. They do look like the Tim Holtz scissors, but they are less expensive, and I think they just work just as well. So I fuzzy cut that, and then I wanted to give this little duck an envelope. So I used the background stamp again, because it's more than just a background. You can use it in so many ways. And I stamped some of the envelopes with Memento Black ink, and then I picked the one that I thought had the right size for my little duck. And then I colored that just with some red Copic markers. I used the R14, R39, and R46. I love them a lot. I especially love the R46 because it's a bright, bold red color. And then I used some V99, which is not a red shade, but it's dark enough to add some shadows without having it go into gray. So this, I think I saw this at Christina Werner's channel, and I love this. That was a great tip. I added some white dots just to add some more interest, and some, what's the name for the dots that you have in your face? Freckles. I added some freckles to that duck, and then I wanted to add some more texture to that card. So I used some crackle paint. This is clear crackling paint, and I mixed that up with some broken china ink, and I found out that the ink was not bright enough, so I did not want to ruin my ink pad, so I did not smoosh the ink pad next to my paste, but I added some spray mist, which is a nice way to color your paste as well. Not sure if you can hear that. Apple is screaming in the next room because he hears my voice and he wants to talk to you. Now, here's a trick. You want to have that crackle paint pretty even, because you want the crackles to be like the same spacing. If you put on your crackling paste in a thick layer, you will get large crackles, and if you add a very thin layer, you will get very small crackles. And I wanted it to be an even coating of crackles, and I wanted them to be a medium size, so I used some acetate as kind of a stencil to smoosh that paste through, to have it as flat as possible, and I think this turned out pretty. Then I heat set that with my heat gun again. I used some wood underneath because my cutting mat does not like that, and I sped that up a lot so we can see the crackles come to life. You can use your heat gun to dry that paste. You can also let it air dry, but when you use your heat gun, be careful, because if you make it too hot, it will get bubbles and it will not crack anymore. So this looks pretty. I used our stack pierced banner dies to cut a banner shape with some pierced holes, and then I added the duck and the envelope with some dimensional adhesive to that banner. This banner will go onto the envelope background, and I think I overdid this card a little bit. So we have the texture from the embossing, and we have the watercolor, and we have the crackles, and we have some Copic coloring, so lots of stuff going on that card. It's not a really clean and simple card, but I think for all the techniques that I used, it's okay. So now the background is dry, and I used to cut this out because I think you can add some dimension and another shape and some more texture and stuff, you know, to your card. Some more interest. I think not spreading your water onto the entire panel, but just onto one area and cutting that area up looks amazing. I did that a few times, and I'm really happy how these turn out to be on your card, and you get different shapes each and every time. So I checked out how I wanted them to be, well, to be spaced and stuff, and then I used some dimensional adhesive. So this card is probably not going through the mail unless I'm using this air bubble cushion envelopes. So this is not going through the usual mail because I have lots of dimension on there. I think this is the third layer with dimensional adhesive. So I thought that the surprise thing was gonna go lost in some way because we have all the color at the bottom, and I wanted to have some more balance on my card, so I decided to have more orange and yellow on the top left portion as well. I used some strips of paper from the Feel Good paper pack, which has lots of yellow and orange patterns, and then I adhered them all together with that stack pierced banner. So that finished the card for today. I hope you got inspired, and I hope your mojo got tickled a little bit and you love the new release. I would like to ask you to join our Facebook page and click the subscribe button, and also click the subscribe button for our YouTube channel. Our Facebook page is where we share all of our new information, so make sure to subscribe to that as well. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.